Similar to me not knowing that it was the last play of the game, I also thought we won when I scored because in my head, I was like, okay, if we score, we will go into overtime. If we make the kick, we'll win. I knew that when the kickoff was happening, but after I scored, I was just like, nice, clock out, I'm done. This is the best. Like, great, we won, finished. And I had scored, I rolled over, Naya lifts me up, and then I turn around and I see the clock says like 9 seconds. And I was like, oh shit, that's me. And Zach was like, you have to kick it, you have to kick it. And I was like, oh my God, give me the ball. And then I caught the ball, I think with like I think there was actually like 4 seconds left when I caught the ball. And I was like, oh, I hope this goes in because I don't kick. I'm Spiff Sedrick and you're listening to the Rugby Hive.
Reinach goes for a round around the fringes. Reinach puts a kick over for himself. Reinach! Oh, he's more dangerous than climate change. Reinach is in. Hello and welcome to the Rugby Hive. I'm Dallen Stanford, and despite my South African accent, I was fortunate enough to play rugby for the United States on the Sevens World Series.
And I'm MacDowell, a former Canadian Sevens international. Back in my playing days, I went head-to-head against Dallen in the USA.
For several years, Robin has coached international sevens for various countries, including Canada and Mexico. He's massively passionate about growing the game across the Americas through his MacDowell rugby programs at all levels. I've been fortunate to be a World Rugby commentator for the past decade, getting the opportunity to be a lead broadcaster at the recent 2023 Rugby World Cup in France, the 2019 Rugby World Cup in Japan, and the amazing Sevens World Series. I've also teamed up with USA Sevens legend Perry Baker, growing the global game through Flag Rugby X. It's a non-contact game that helps rugby teams fundraise, grow their playing numbers, and reconnect with alumni.
More than a decade later, we are teaming up to bring you insights from legendary players and coaches from around the world.
This is the Rugby Hive podcast. Dupont on the outside, back inside is Jalibert. Here come the French, linking beautifully. That's champagne rugby, and I can say that because it's from France. Hello and welcome back to season 3 of the Rugby Hive. Yes, that's right, my friends. Your favorite boy band is back together. It's only taken us 1 year and 8 months, but we found the time to pick things up, inspired by the most recent Olympic Games in France, and of course, especially the display of the North American women's seven sensations, Canada and USA. But Rob, speaking of records, I think you set a record. We said we're going to be a bit unscripted this season and just carve it up. I think you took about 3 minutes 30 to ask a question to Spiff Sedrick. That's a Guinness Book of Records, my friend.
Yeah, it took a while to get the words out as always, but I always say you say as many words, you just say it much quicker.
That's probably right. I know. I do say you talk a lot more than me, but you're right. It could be that. Listen, my friend, let's talk about Olympics first up. That is really taking the world by storm, particularly here, of course, in our neck of the woods. A terrific sold-out crowd witnessing the men's and women's seven to start to France. The Rugby Hive was there. Well, 50% of the Hive. You were there. Tell us all about it.
Well, you were also at the World Cup for the men last year, and I was at the World Cup bronze game and the final for the men. So you're thinking like, hey, sold out show in Paris, Springboks versus All Blacks. That must have been hectic. There was a lot of tension in that Stade de France Bowl, but being there, so the men, just like perspective for the men's sevens, was Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, right, for the gold medal. And then the women played Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So they kind of had the rougher end of the date. So, I was thinking, okay, I don't think the crowd would be as good as the men because they have, the France crowd or whatever be working. I was wrong. It was packed house. It was so loud. It was 10 times the vibe than the men's World Cup final, like a modern men's World Cup final, the women's. And, to be honest, I'm probably more of a fan of the women's game because I coach more of them. But it was so epic to see. And then for myself, I had the pleasure of working with 16 different women from 5 different countries. So I was just a fan there, Dallen. I took a red eye out of Utah at day 2 from the Salt Lake City tournament. Slept a little bit, got up, had a shot of espresso, and just sweated in the stadium for 3 days. And it was probably 3 of the best sporting days of my entire life as a coach, fan, or player.
And Robs, we've got to talk about like the Canada. Nobody expected Canada to get into the knockout rounds really, or go at least advance. And the fact that your side went through to the final, unbelievable. I mean, you as a fan, a former Sevens national, obviously representing Canada, what was that like? And did you have good support as well for Canada?
Yeah, I mean, Canadians are well received in France, and there was I would say half the crowd was French. They didn't have much support when they knocked out France in the in the Cup semifinal,
Fair enough.
the Cup quarterfinal. Sorry, I actually was getting pushed by a couple of locals, so that was interesting. But yeah, there was a lot of support. There was lots of Canadians in the stands, and I was super proud. To be honest, it was a very emotional 3 days. I got to hang out with Chris Norton's mom and her aunt a bit and some of the other parents. I had lots of people trying to reach out to see me. I literally turned my phone off. I just really just wanted to be present. I put a lot of work into a lot of those kids, a lot of phone calls, a lot of driving, and a lot of please try the sport. And I promised Christy Scurfield and Carissa Norton specifically that they would go to the 2024 Olympics. What I didn't promise them was that they'd medal, let alone a silver medal. And so for me, when Carissa came into the stands with her medal around her neck, I just couldn't keep it in. I was just so proud. And then for the U.S. women breaking the Aussies' hearts at the death, as we dive into with Spiff, the real hero on this episode, I just said the face of the game in North America that you and I have been collectively, Canada, U.S., been trying to promote the last 4 or 5 years. Those girls have just changed the face of rugby and made our life easier, which is so beautiful.
Yeah, it's remarkable. You know, we spent a bit of time. We took a break from the Rugby Hive. We were doing the Rugby Sevens roller coaster in partnership with the Premier Rugby Sevens. We spoke to a lot of the players at the Olympic Games, actually, were playing in Premier Rugby Sevens. So you and I obviously got to work with them closely too. But I know all the great stuff you do in Canada, developing those athletes. So very cool to see, you know, your side do that and the woman, as you said, from the US medal. Because let's be fair, when you get to those knockout rounds, this is the great thing about sevens. You can't predict it. And I know I had my own predictions. I was wrong, you know, at least 40% of the time because of sevens. I mean, the men's knockout games were intense as well. Could have gone either way in those ones. So pretty remarkable. Obviously, a shout out to Sheikh Soizwapi, his South African side, who had no chance even, you know, to go further in the tournament, qualified number 12 out of the 12 sides. So they picked up a bronze medal, the men's side of things. So a pretty special Olympics overall. And I think, as you said, finally now rugby is really perceived as a mainstream sport here in the US, which it hasn't been before. You know what I mean? The fact that Ilona Maher is on Dancing with the Stars currently as we speak, her obviously social has gone viral, but now people are learning about the sport, understanding about the game. It takes all shapes and sizes. It's a wonderful sport. We've loved it, obviously, from the beginning. We picked up a ball, but most people here in North America never heard of it.
Yeah, and rugby players, even the best in the world, the Kiwis or the French or whoever, like the true rugby nations, those guys don't get the money or the respect they deserve, especially here in North America. And of course, the women's game, which is exploding. And to see, you know, Lona and Alev and Spiff and like all the American girls and all the Canadian girls finally getting the love and attention and optics, because man, those girls have been grinding, and they are world class. They are box office, and of course, they're so humble still. But it's nice to see the spotlight on them. And the best part for me is being in, you know, a small piece of those women's lives. You know, and you've been singing the song in the stadiums, but then to work with athletes from across the country on the backside of that success. And that visibility through the Olympic, you know, space is, I want to go to the Olympics. I want to play rugby. I want to be like Spiff. I want to be like whoever is super special. And again, it's not about rugby. It's not about the medals. It's about, you know, chasing something and being part of something and going somewhere. And those women are they probably don't realize the impact they've made, but they've made a big splash, and I'm super grateful. And I think it's a gift for the U.S. rugby landscape as they build towards upcoming Olympics and dual men and women's World Cups in the future, that the visibility is there. The U.S. They value the Olympics more than anybody, and they do such a great job of promoting and supporting it and televising it.
Yeah, that's right. Our Peacock TV was where you could watch all Olympic Games. And on one of the posters is Perry Baker. You know, one of the posters of the show, of course, we said Ilona Maher was everywhere also, which is amazing to see. But I love the fact, of course, it's coming here to LA, where I live in 28. Tom Cruise in the closing ceremony, obviously, you know, diving from the top, launching himself on a little zip line, and then he motorbikes out of there with the, you know, Olympic torch, everything else back to Hollywood. Remarkable scenes that's coming here. So it is very cool. Listen, one thing I do hope, though, is that the LA Sevens can get us back together and bring people into the stadium. It would be nice if they actually moved it somewhere else, because it is quite a small stadium at Dignity Health Sports Park, where it's apparent that the Sevens will be hosted there, but maybe they move to a bigger stadium. SoFi Stadium, after the success of what happened to Stade de France, that will be interesting. And we know the Vancouver Sevens is well attended and a great vibe. I just hope, the USA leg of the Sevens World Series.
Well, listen, I think Ilona Maher will make sure that all her friends will be there, like Snoop Dogg and all the. I mean, can we talk about Snoop, the Dallen Stanford of the music world? He was on Fuego. So you talk about the American visibility that the Olympics had, and those guys, and Spiff and her teammates got to interact and engage with him. So yeah, it was. Yeah, I feel it'll be full. Like I genuinely by then in 4 years' time, and again, Ilona's will be up to 10 billion followers by then after she dominates Dancing with the Stars. So we're on our way.
Yeah, no, you're so right. Yeah, it's the highest level that they're dominating at now. So let's just summarize where we are right now. Okay, so we're in season 3 of the Rugby Hive. We have 6 episodes going to make up this season. So far, we've had 3 released. We had Shake Soy's Wapi. We released that in October 2022, the man from South Africa. With Kelly Griffin, the US international sensation coaching star. We released that in December 2022. And then Kieran and Nicole Crowley, your friends who represented New Zealand, Italy, Canada, all over in January 2023. That was our last episode. So we dropped this one now with Spiff Sedrick, September 2024. We'll have 2 more episodes and we'll wrap up the year, and then we start season 4 next year. So that's kind of where we are, what the outlook is. So happy to be back with you, my friend. Let's chat about what we've been up to for the last, year and 8 months. I know one thing included a visit up to see you. Barrett and I came up to visit you on the island. It was like an episode from Lost. It was scary but beautiful.
How would you describe that visit, like in that experience on Vancouver Island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean?
No, I will say this. I will say stunning. Where you live, it's surrounded by forests, remarkable. We even went out, obviously, on your boat. We were cruising around at the high seas. It really entertained us, fishing, jumping off the side. Actually, I think you pushed me off the side. It was freezing cold water. Luckily, I was wearing a lifeguard vest, so I was okay to jump out of that. Honestly, where you stay is amazing. I got to see, of course, come to one of your sessions with your rugby program there. Very, very cool to see what you got on the island.
Yeah, for those listeners out there, luckily there was no camera, but he was actually wearing a Speedo. It was a banana hammock of sorts. No, it was really appreciated you guys coming up for my birthday there, and June is a magic time of year on Vancouver Island in the Pacific Northwest, and he had his drone flying off the cliff, and then we were out on the ocean, and my friend's mom even flashed us, and we didn't figure that out till later. So it was all happening. The proper West Coast welcome. But what have you been up to the last year and a half? And you've been all over the world, Rugby World Cups. So share that with us.
Yeah, Robs, that's right. So the biggest event definitely was last year. Going to France, spending a month there. I was able to cover 10 pool matches for World Rugby alongside Tom Mitchell, GB 7 sensation, England 7 star. So it's awesome. We got a chance to cover some big games, 3 South African pool games, which are so cool, And the most tense one was a Stade de France sold out, Ireland, South Africa, where Ireland beat South Africa in that iconic game. And so that being part of that whole experience was surreal. Verity came across for the week. It was awesome because she was there when I had a bit of a break, and we were in Nice on the coast in the south of France, drinking Aperol Spritz, just carving it up. It's as you know, like the assembly of the Rugby World Cup brings people from all walks of life together to celebrate the teams playing. A pity there was no Canada and USA taking part. But of course, we had loads of friends come across supporting different sides, and it was very cool, obviously, to be a fan of rugby there as well. But then to follow South Africa's success as they continued through was remarkable.
Yeah, no, and I had a chance to come over as well, Dallen. We were finally got to launch the precision kicking ball, and it did another pandemic project alongside the Rugby Hive, and so that was a super big privilege for me. So Gilbert Global has a global meetings basically every World Cup ahead of the bronze medal and final games, and I got to connect with Bernard, one of our Rugby Hive sponsor with World Rugby Shop, presented my ball with the engineer Ian Savage, and he's a gentleman that's developed, I think, the last 5 World Cup balls, one of the best innovators, engineers in the world. And right after the meeting, I got Jason Robinson was there for my presentation, so no pressure. Luckily, he's not a kicker, but that was a privilege to hear his story and get to connect with him. And then obviously, I got to attend my first ever 15s World Cup in France, and that's the same stadium where all my dreams really started. I was there playing in France when I was 19, semi-professionally. And the family I was living with at the time, Dallen, they took me to an All Blacks France game, and we walked up to the Stade de France in Paris and looked out at the whole field. I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to play international rugby. And that was my dream. I took a picture, I put that in my book, and every day I wrote in it. And then, full circle, I got to go watch. And just a little sub story is I hadn't seen that family in like 20 years or more. And I emailed them. I said, hey, I'm coming to Paris for the Olympics. And my French family, like my French father messaged me back, and it had a quote from his wife, basically saying, "My son, my Canadian son, your room is how you left it." And I went up there, went in early, took the train up north, and spent the weekend with them, and just walked around, had some meals. And he used to be the biggest beer and wine distributor in all of Northern Europe, and so he really educated me from sampling Canadian Lucky Lager, cheap beers to, fine Belgian and Northern France beer to fine wines to everything fine in that France lifestyle. And so I basically got spoiled for 3 days up north, and then I got to catch up with everybody at the World Cup. But unfortunately, we just missed, we were like two ships passing in the night, but we both got amongst it. And then outside of that, obviously we got to catch up with the Rugby 10s in Cape Town just about a year ago in your hometown.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. The 10's phenomenal. And I love that we were able to team up because, again, it depends what events we've got going on, whether we can see each other here and there. And so it just worked out that we're in the Strand of South Africa. You got a chance to, sample a few castle lagers, have a couple of braais. It was so good. And we got to be back next year. I know it's going to be in San Clemente this year, but the next year we're going back if you're interested.
Can we talk about the car ride that you took me on with that minivan? Just follow me.
Well, number one, of course, none of us are used to driving on that side of the road or that side of the car. Stick shifts as well are not that popular. A couple of potholes, a couple of people walking past in the middle of the road selling newspapers. It was carnage.
Well, just a little fun story. So when I landed, obviously going to Cape Town from Western North America, I know it's almost like 2 days plus flights got muddled up. So I ended up in London for a day and a half. So anyway, I was gassed. I land and I get a WhatsApp message. Okay, you got to pick up a van, and it's on the wrong side of the road. It's this big van, again, stick shift with my left hand, all foreign. And I basically plug in, they tell me where we're staying. I plug it in. Well, I was basically supposed to go south and I went north because something else picked up. And I ended up like an hour and a half north. I had a van full of different guys from across the U.S. and across the world that I was driving to the resort. And nobody knew who I was. I think I almost killed us 10 times. So then I got a hold of the 10's organizers, and they're like, I sent them my PIN location. They're like, keep the doors locked.
Whatever you don't... That's right. You went in the absolute wrong direction.
Yeah. And they're like, whatever you do, don't slow down. If people try and stop you, just like run them over, like just get out of there. So and then all the people in the car, of course, were like, who is this guy driving? But yeah, we definitely got amongst it. But it was so great. I mean, your home country has got to be the most beautiful place in the world, genuinely. And it was the Rugby 10s group and the Rhinos. They put on such a great experience last year.
Yeah, no, it was so awesome. Absolutely, definitely one of my favorites. A couple other events that were pretty cool this past year as well. Did the MLR final, New England Free Jacks, going back to back. My old team, of course, when B and I were living in Boston. But it was really cool to work sideline, particularly for the Santiago side. A lot of games at Snapdragon Stadium. They had a couple of games over 10,000 fans attending, including the final, which was so cool. Then I got a chance to do a little bit with the Seattle Seawolves at Starfire Stadium and the Super Rugby Americas. Got a chance to do that as well with the American Raptors, and even call the final game, which was amazing because you had the Argentine sides going at it, Pampas against the Dogos, and the Pampas, who were unbelievable all season long, dropping the game in the final to the Dogos. We called it remotely, Rob, so how fun is this? There I am, Vera and I spent a month in Europe, we'll get to that later, but doing the game from a hotel room where Verity's trying to sleep. The hours obviously completely messed around because we're in Europe and the game's in South America. She's trying to catch a catnap at 2 a.m. There I'm shouting about the Dogos against the Pampas. Yeah, it was mayhem.
Was she throwing stuff at you?
No, she had a music in, and actually I left this part out. So I do the game, and she's quiet because she's trying to sleep, but listening to loud music to drown me out, obviously, because I'm pretty loud. I'm like 1 meter from her. So then eventually I go to bed, but I forgot to tap her on the shoulder to say, I'm done now with the game. So she left the music in playing, thinking I was still in the game. Only like an hour later, did she realize that I'm in the bed as well? She's like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were sleeping. Anyway, disaster. But then the other events, commentary-wise, Rugby Town Sevens, that was another thriller this year. So amazing to see Cody Maltby back with the Denver Seven Selects winning it. I got to see your friend Colton Cariaga as well with his USA side. I have some very good young players coming through, but that event always ranks as far as international sevens events go for high-level teams. You got obviously the Ramley Jesters, Tsunami Barbarians, players from all over the globe. It was epic.
Yeah, I'm hoping to bring a MacDowell team there in a few years. Obviously, with our academy, our boys are starting to age out of the youth, and obviously we have a pipeline underneath. But I got a lot of top women. But eventually we'll take our own team there. But I've had the privilege of being there twice, and it was world class. It was the closest thing to the World Series that I've experienced.
Well, my best part was when you came on you were the coach of the team. I forget with the North American Barbarians or what it was, but then all of a sudden you're on the field, I'm commentating, and you score. It was remarkable. we gotta pull up those highlights.
No. But maybe I think we need to you and I will come back together. We'll carve it up together.
Yeah, we shall.
Tag X maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Tag it. Okay, let me just go through the couple of quick things here. So because of that event, actually, in that tournament, I connected with some folks I knew there through Tsunami. And so because they brought one of the teams out and supplied their merch and kit, a Hong Kong-based manufacturer, eco-friendly brand and everything. They're just so good with being environmentally conscious as well. So I became their brand ambassador after the Rugby Town Sevens last year. So for this whole year, that's why I'm wearing one of the 13,000 Hawaiian colorful shirts that they produce. I've got their backpack. I've got their cooler. I've got, every item that they make. Honestly, the best stuff. Tsunami-sport.com. Obviously, get your merch there. Robs, we'll kit you out next time we see you. But they're pretty legendary.
You were made for that brand. Look at you.
Exactly. A match made in heaven. Well, funnily enough, I actually played against Chambers, Andrew Chambers, who was playing for Hong Kong at the time, an expat living there at the Hong Kong Sevens. He founded the brand. Gareth Ray is one of their legends as well, high up in the company, two of the nicest folks you ever meet. So it's kind of a match made in heaven. So loving them kit, loving the beach style stuff that they have as well, which is good. Okay, pal. Then another ambassador thing, the Algarve Sevens Portugal. Okay, let me lay this out for you. I know you and I caught up about this, but basically what it is, got connected to commentate this event, annual event in June time period. And it's called Welcome to the Sun, and basically beautiful region of Portugal on the coastline in the Algarve. Tom Mitchell, I got him across in the UK. We commentated the tournament together. There's some very good women's teams, very good men's teams. But overall, they had golf, they had field hockey, and netball as well. Rugby just happened to be one of the sports. They had like 70 teams there. But it is a stunning location. So if anybody wants to play an event, whether it's elite women, elite men, social women, university rugby, whatever you want, you're welcome to join me in the Algarve Sevens. I'll hook you guys up. Honestly, one of the best trips we've had.
I went to Portugal for the Rugby 10s Championship for the first year, and we tacked on our honeymoon. And I tell everybody, go to Portugal. It's actually super affordable for Europe. It's beautiful. The people are nice. Of course, you have the Portuguese charm, the Portuguese quality food, and it's so hospitable. It's stunning part of the world. It's a diamond in the rough, and I'm keen to go. It's on our radar for our programs in 2025.
Good. Okay, good. I'll hook you up. Lovely. So there was that. Oh, by the way, they had a hot air balloon. So how's this? So Mitch and I commentated to him, rotating around. As we said, really good teams there. Ramley Jesters won it for the men's side of it, and then the China women had a few teams there. They were preparing for the Olympic Games, so they do really well. So afterwards, the organizer said to me, all right, Dallen, if you can help now announce the winners from all the different sports. I go, yeah, no problem. Where is this? He goes, we have a big after party plan, the DJ stage, there's drinks everywhere. So we go to the after party. It's epic. So, thousands of people there, music's going wild. And then I was like, okay, so just go on the stage and announce the winners. He goes, no, we have a hot air balloon for you. And I'm like, hold on, what? He goes, yep, you're going to go up in the hot air balloon. And I go, what do you mean? You take off behind the stage? He goes, yes, we'll give you the microphone. You'll announce the winners there, but let's double check the wind because it might be too strong to actually take off. Verity's freaking out. She's like, you haven't signed any waivers. I'm not going to lose you in a hot air balloon. Probably would be my case. At least I'll be looking good in Tsunami kit. But anyway,
she's cutting the rope.
Exactly. It was too windy in the end, so we didn't take off on the hot air balloon, just went to the regular stage. But Tom Mitchell obviously is now egging me on for next year to set sail for this. So yeah, we'll get you on there. We'll maybe do an episode up there, just a short one.
I'm in. I'm all over that. I've done worse.
You've done what exactly? Okay. Then, Robs, the final thing that has happened over the last year, which is really exciting, very cool. So, Avant Brandy is a new rugby drink. Okay, so brandy is massive in South Africa, and South Africans around the world love to drink it when they're braaiing, when they're watching rugby, and that sort of stuff. So, Rugby World Cup winning captain John Smith is involved with this brand. And basically, they've selected 15 people from around the world to team up and to promote it, to be involved in the organization and growth of it. So, how cool is this group of legends? And I don't know why I got invited, but anyway, I'm on the list. But so here we go. Butch James is there, who's the former Springbok fly who used to take people's heads off with high shots. He'll be banned from playing rugby these days, but back in the day, legend. CJ Stander, unbelievable forward. George Gregan, one of the greats from all time from Australia, of course. John de Villiers, Springbok, captain, all-time legend centre. Jim Hamilton from Scotland, who does wonderful work, obviously, World Rugby socials and media and things like that. Other South Africans, Joseph Dwebe, Justin Marshall, New Zealand scrum half, Lucanio Am, and Makazole Mapimpi, Rugby World Cup winners. Scott Brits, just a legend on and off the field. Raymond Rule, a speedster. Starevi, the king of sevens, is in there. Wasali as well. And Veer Pennell from Scotland. So many good names, so many good people. So it's pretty cool. It's available in South Africa. I got a few bottles when I was there last time, and they're now coming up with a new package, 15-year-old Avant Brandy bottle, a limited edition as well. And so I'll try to get my hands on one of those for you, my friend.
That's an all-star lineup.
Slippery Eel somehow got on the list.
Side note, can we give your friend a shout out back in Cape Town that we crashed his house for a shower and on the way to the airport?
That's right.
During load shedding.
That's right. Grant McAvoy. That's right. Exactly. I forgot about that. Yeah. So thanks, Macas.
That guy was such a beauty. Such a beauty. Trying to feed us, coffee us.
Exactly.
Waking up the whole house.
I'm glad you got to meet him. He was, again, one of many legends that grew up in the Rondebosch area in Cape Town. A great rugby player. We played together the GCT when I was coming back to America. We were waiting there for a few months. I just played a bit of social rugby, and him and I would have the funniest time on the field. We'd be shouting at each other, and the opposition is like, "What's going on? Are these guys friends? Are they enemies?" But we were like trying to do the best, like no look passes, chip kicks over the top. But often he would do something and I wouldn't be ready for it. Then I'd start shouting at him. Play would continue. It was just chaos. But anyway, greatest guy. But you and I at least got to go to the Camps Bay Beach. We got to carve it up there as well. So you got to see a few of the sites, All right, my friend. What else have you been up to the past little while? Tell us about your academy. What else is on the crack, my friend?
Yeah, just busy coaching. Coaching and doing what I love. But just wrapping up 2023 last year. Obviously, my Northern Loonies put a lot of work in trying to find the talent, and we had a sensational season. Really enjoyed that. Got a poll in my Prairie Academy. My good buddies Brett Canterbury, who you got to meet. He was it was his first time coaching in a stadium, and our first stop of the year last year in Minnesota. It was his first time, like lights and sirens, and I had him doing the substitutions, and he screwed up subs like the whole first half, and he come up to me at halftime. I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's all good. If we lose a game because of a substitution, you wrote down the wrong number. It's all good. But we went on to win, beating several Black Ferns and top USA players in the Cup final, Washington D.C., with a group of women that I basically I had to pick my favorite players in the world, and including Bianca Silva from Brazil. And I think we had like 17 Canadians, and of course, Alev Kelter was to get to work with her. She was supposed to take the summer off. She was taking a Winnebago from southern U.S. all the way to Alaska. She just kept flying in and out for me. And so that was great. And then we obviously met up with the Rugby 10s Championship, coaching the Serengeti Elephants. That was an epic trip, a totally different experience than my time on the World Series, getting to coach there and get to catch up with South Africa, the coffee, the gelato, the beach, elephants, lions, rhinos, everything. It just kind of, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. And, I think my highlight though was working with, some Zimbabwe players, some South African women, and these Kenyan players. Like, these Kenyan players don't need any coaching. You just need to make sure they're hydrated and you get out of the way. So it was a huge privilege. And then, just with our tours, obviously been involved in trying to grow the game in North America and, around the Americas for, almost 2 decades, I guess. But last year, almost last year this time, we have the Kamloops Sevens this weekend, which is the biggest youth tournament in Canada, and we won that. And then I sat down after the event with a bunch of other coaches, and we're just looking at what 2024 looked like. And sometimes we have national team youth programs for sevens, and sometimes we don't, based on budgeting and availability and resources and all the rest of it. So one of my mentors like, well, why don't you guys just do it? So we've done it. We've decided to go to all these trips, culminating upcoming this year in Global Youth Sevens. But we've been to Mexico City last December. We've been to Tropical Sevens. We went with 7 teams down. UNV almost came, but we're gonna drag you guys. Yeah, we're gonna drag you guys down this upcoming spring. We went to Heidelberg, Germany. I brought Colton Carriaga, Harvard's coach. And I think the highlight for me this summer was riding around on a scooter in Germany with Colton, just funneling like dark espressos. So it's been a really special year. And then obviously Salt Lake City. I think the most exciting the most exciting news is we've gone from 2 academies to 5 academies. And we launched our 3rd and 4th academies this past weekend, one in Saskatoon, and then the other one in Manitoba. And we had close to 50 kids in Manitoba, which is, the heartland of Canada, and then over 40 in Saskatoon. So, we've all left the game better. I'm trying to leave it more sustainable. So we now have a network of coaches of over 50, administrators, marketing, every aspect. And of course, these families and these athletes. And, the U.S. landscape is a lot like the Canadian landscape, where people are spread right out. And so we got to go to them. And then we empower people in these centers, similar to what I used to do when I coached Mexico. I'd build these centers across Mexico. And so it's kind of a full circle, journey that I've been on. We launched this 7 years ago with one academy. And now we have, I think, close to 300 kids training. And like I said, over 50 coaches. And talk about the upcoming Olympics and World Cups. We're going to have our hands full.
Yeah, Robs, I'm so impressed with everything you've done. That's the thing, developing all those players in different regions. I know you're jetting around, what you and Manitoba Rovers call, all over in recent times, which is so cool to see, growing the game. And what I love about your programs as well is how much you obviously care for the athletes, their all-round education. Obviously, rugby is one portion of it, but obviously how to be a good person and how to be successful in life and that sort of thing. Because as we all know, not everybody's going to go on to the next level, maybe compete at the highest level, but a lot of people are going to play the sport for fun. They're going to make amazing friends, like you're doing with your group, taking to new cultures, new countries, new opportunities, all through playing the oval game.
Yeah, and even like from a marketing piece, so Maxine O'Leary, who's been involved in the Hive in the background, well, she actually took a full-time job with Rugby Canada. They headhunted her, and she's just on her way back from Japan right now. She's still involved with our brand in behind the scenes because it's her baby, but she's gone from university where she worked for us to help put her through university, and now she's our lead for Rugby Canada. So we're super proud of her and her career. And the fact that she's been associated with capturing our stories, and then we've just hired and she helped with it, or one of her good friends, Macy Weeb, who also has been through our programs and also is friends with Maxine. Is also she's playing alongside Chris and Orson at the University of Victoria. So we keep hiring these rugby stars, and we actually just hired Ethan Hager, that's on the men's sevens team. So he had his first day on field with our kids. So there's many levels to what we're doing. I just absolutely love it. You and I have been so blessed with what the World Sevens has done for us by realizing our dreams, and we just want to pay it forward. And you obviously on the comms, and me on the field with the whistle.
Yeah, that's so great. And a great hire, by the way, Ethan Hager, just a brilliant citizen and obviously what a player also. So really cool to see his progress and good as with you guys. Let's talk future plans, what's coming up the next few months, what's happening. I'll kick it off first. So we spoke about the Rugby 10s, what's happening again now in October. There's going to be in San Clemente, California. There are going to be various franchises playing across 4 weeks of training and 4 match days, October 4th, 12th, 18th, and 26th. That's the Rugby 10 series. Then the best players out of the series will compete in the Rugby 10s Championship happening in November. The 3 match days, November 23, 27, and 30. Rugby10s.com is where you can head to get more information about that. But that's going to be great. They're going to bring in coaches from all over as well.
Some big names we can't release yet. We've got to wait for them to release on the socials. But of course, the tens is cracking, which is so great. And then, Rob's, another venture which you have been involved with in the past as well, Flag Rugby X, non-contact game, working alongside Perry Baker, of course, here in the US and promoting it globally. And basically, it's a fun game that can activate new players into the sport, reconnect with alumni to come back and play as well, using this as a fundraising tool at any rugby club, universities, men, women, you name it. It's obviously such a safe and fun game. And we both played it. There's some great highlights to be had as well.
Yeah, I can't say enough about Flag X. We still play it every Friday at our academy, and it's outside of it being such a great way to get people into the game for our kids that are super competitive and train every week. They've gotten better with the rugby because the way the game's set up, it challenges you to find space and play within the team, and there's different scoring gates, so you have to be strategic. Whereas a lot of North America, we come from hockey, baseball, football, soccer, whatever, and we just have our head down and we're going forward. Whereas, when you do that in rugby, you get isolated or you get injured. So now our boys are running through holes, and then they're looking across the field and finding like their sister or another girl or another younger player in the team, and they're connecting with them, sharing the ball so they can score in that scoring gate to get the points. And it's been something we've used for all 3 years of our academy so far, and we've already been using it this month as we kicked off our fall season.
Awesome. I love that. Folks can message Perry Baker or myself on the socials, the website TagX International, but we call it Flag X here in North America because we know flag football, there's going to be Olympic Games in LA in 28. So we hope the merge to more non-contact offerings come through in rugby as well, with that rise in Canada and the US. Robs, what else you got coming up in the next little while, my friend?
Yeah, heading off to Kamloops Sevens here in a couple of days. So we're full focused on that, which is great. Get our boys and girls off to a flying start. And then I jet off to Calgary, Alberta, the home of Thomas Isherwood, the mullet man, your favorite boy.
Yes.
Yeah. So rooted in the foothills of the Rockies. We like our branding that we do for each location. Down we get a local artist. So for Vancouver Island, we have a Coast Salish design king salmon on our local level within our maple leaf. In Alberta, we got Rocky Mountains with snow caps and lightning bolts because there's a lot of wild storms out there. The prairies, obviously, we got a Buffalo in Saskatchewan, our Saskatchewan academies, and then we had a really cool design in Manitoba with a bear by a local Cree artist that has two hearts. So it's a joining of the Masqua rugby community and the MacDowell rugby program. Masqua meaning black bear, and there's a lot of symbolism with that. So we're really connecting that. So we're excited to head off to Alberta, and then we're on to Mexico City in a month for the International Sevens tournament. Being a former Mexico Sevens women's head coach for 5 years, that was like probably my favorite chapter as a coach is working with that culture and those athletes and growing the game there and making history and going to a World Cup. And what's more powerful is actually still being involved with my own brand and my own people in Canada. We're official partners with the Mexican Rugby Union, and so last year we brought 2 youth teams down, men and women. Big success on and off the field. We went to the Aztec pyramids. We went and saw the castle, Mexico City. And you want to talk about food. It's the best food in the world, Mexico City. We got to drag you and B down. But yeah, so we're headed down there in a month for that. And then we finish the year, culminate at the Global U7s in Auckland, New Zealand. So we're looking for athletes. We've already had over 80, 90 apply from across North America. We just had an event in Winnipeg, Manitoba last week. We got 4 more events across Western Canada. And then our last talented event is actually going to be in Boston at Harvard University with Coach Carriaga. So we're going to have a blend of U.S. players in that team. So it's really going to be like a North American select team. We're going against the Junior All Blacks, Junior Samoa, Junior Australia. So like Maddie Levi and all these top athletes have gone straight from Global Sevens into the World Series. And so you really have to tie your laces and be ready to go. So I was there a few years ago with our provincial regional team, but we only had 1 practice before. It's not a show up tournament. You need to be prepared just to even fight at that level. So really excited. And you know what's funny is these kids, Carriaga and I were having a laugh on this tour. He's like these boys, they show up in shirts like we're wearing right now. Like they've got their Hawaiian shirt on. They've got a different theme outfit for every day. They're chilling, having coffees or hot chocolates. Like fanny packs, like they have all the vibe. Like these kids have been on more tours than they've been on more planes than any our parents combined, right? So they've already got the World Series rugby. By the time they get to the show, they'll already be ready to go.
Yeah, but that's all because of the experiences you're providing, which I love. I mean, the fact you said Mexico and seeing the culture, meeting new people, and then New Zealand trip sounds amazing. I think there's a youth division of that as well, because I know Belmont Shore preparing to go to New Zealand. I don't know if it's the same term or not. The under 18s, a great program they got there as well, my old club. But Rob's, again, I can't speak more highly about the opportunities you're providing for your players and stuff like that. V and I will tag along. We'll help you with the media. She can do some Verity Explains interviews, and I can commentate your team.
Yeah, please do. I highly recommend the Mexico tour. It's nice and close for you guys. And
yeah,
man, the treatment you get in Mexico, you can't get it anywhere else. And we actually, Alejandro Chavez, our Mexican Academy coach, played for Mexico for 17 years, was my assistant coach at the Sevens World Cup in San Fran. He's been up here for 3 years, and he's involved with their national program still. But he identified the 2 top boys and top girl to that program. And we have 3 Mexican international players at our full-time academy now. So it's been so great for our boys and girls. And we got one boy from Spain that is, I call him the Spanish Fijian, because he just palms the ball. He's been playing since he was 5. And so we have a very multicultural program. So we're really looking forward to getting back down there.
Yeah, so great. I love it. Amazing. All right, Rob, let's get to thanking our partners that have joined us for the ride yet again. So we've got some brilliant folks over the years. These legends are currently supporting the Rugby Hive podcast, World Rugby Shop. They produce that superb range of clothing and merch for us at worldrugbyshop.com. Just search Rugby Hive on their website. You can add some sleek items to your shopping cart. We'd obviously love what they produce. And then Rob's next is Gilbert Rugby Canada, gilbertrugbycanada.com. They have your ball and other things, right?
Yeah, they're owned by Lee Tynan. She took over from her father and Monty Heel from the Monty Heel Foundation, raising money for women's rugby in Canada. She's doing so much to grow the game across Canada, and it's obviously the best ball in the world.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I've got mine here in the office. I love it. Next up, which I know you're very excited about as well, special thanks to Rugby Coffee. They're on board as one of our vital partners. They're going to be shipping you 17 bags, barrels of coffee coming, because I know you drink so much in the morning, particularly, also a bit more in the afternoon and a bit at night as well. So great to have these awesome people join us. Visit us.rugbycoffee.com, grab a couple of fresh bags there. And then next up, we have 2 biltong partners. We have Brews Biltong, which is here in the US. Delicious, sensational snack of choice for me right here. They've got biltong, drovos, everything you want at brewsbiltong.com. And Brews spelled B-R-U Brews Biltong. And then Rob's in your neck of the woods, Canada Biltong. They have magical products. I've smashed them at the Vancouver Sevens. Your man hooked me up there. Get their Biltong and items, and for the bra as well at canadabiltong.com. And then one of our sleekest partners, which you can see the merch I'm wearing here if you're watching on our YouTube channel, Tsunami Sport, the eco-friendly teamwear for all sports. Don't just play, inspire. Absolute legends. As I said, I've got all their kit. They're such a brilliant organization, environmentally conscious, and they make amazing items. The Tsunami cooler pack, I've filled it up with beers and ice straight to the beach. And then their travel backpack, travel through Europe with it, superb, and their Hawaiian shirts as well. We're also open to additional partners as we grow globally, especially here in North America. So send us a message on any of our social channels. Hit up Robin or myself. Don't be scared. Friday the 13th has already passed, and so you can get signed up for the Hive. All right, my friend, listen, we're going to catch up with Ben Gollings in our next episode. The former England 7-star, coached Fiji the last few seasons. Here what Ben has to say about everything is to do with Fiji rugby. We have a huge following from Fiji, which is awesome. So bula banaka to you. We'll get to Ben next time. But for now, let's continue with the ride. Season 3, USA Sevens legend Spiff Sedrick is next. Make sure you connect on our socials at Rugby Hive on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, at My Rugby Hive on Instagram, and our website, rugbyhive.com, managed by the great Karen Gasbarino, the sleek sensation that there ever was. Keep safe out there. We appreciate all your support. Time now for Season 3, Episode 34. We're thrilled to have bronze medalist and one sleek sensation who got the Rugby Sevens world on its feet with that breathtaking match-winning score for Team USA and the final play of the game, Spiff Sedrick on the Rugby Hive. Spiff, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Well, brilliant to have you here. Firstly, I'll say you had my wife and I jumping up and down, shouting at the TV, along with millions of other people for that famous run of a lifetime. We'll go into that try in a moment a bit later, but tell us about the love and support you've received over the last few months.
Oh my God, it's been really surprising, I guess, and like pretty overwhelming as well. You know, rugby's not super big in the US, and so we don't really get that many people tuning in, like unless you are already a fan of rugby or play. And so to have like just so many new supporters and so many people at home. I ran a fundraiser at my high school, and we had just a bunch of people come out. We exceeded our initial goal that we had set out. So just the amount of people that are like now fans of rugby and now who actually are tuning in it's incredible.
I love it. So I shot you the video that my wife filmed when you were scoring, and when you wrote back, I was like, "Oh, Spiff wrote back." She's like, "Can't be. It's impossible." I go, she's just winning a medal at the Olympic Games. I go, I know. I'm like, she's on it fast. She's amazing. And so yeah. So I just want to say, my missus was very impressed. And by the way, you two share a birthday, February 28th.
Oh wow!
So
Well,
I'll drink to that.
nice. Yeah, well, thank you for like responding. I feel so much obligation to reply to like every single message that I get, just because, you know, our supporters are usually the ones that we've played with formally. So to have so many new fans, like I feel a lot of pressure to express like gratitude towards them. But it is very hard. Like I think my Instagram actually kind of was like shutting down, because even to this day, I will still get messages and the notification will just pop up and it'll be like 6 weeks ago. And I'm like, but it just came through. So like, I mean, I can't possibly respond to everybody, but I'm so grateful for everybody.
No, thank you.
Well, Spiff, I couldn't be happier. I got to work with athletes from this is their first day to Olympic stars like yourself, and being a little bit a part of your journey as a coach and as a fan. I'm just so happy for you. But let's kick it back to your high school. Where's your high school? What's the name of it? And give them a shout out.
It is in Herriman, Utah. Shout out Mustangs. I graduated in 2016.
And who was your coach there?
I had a couple coaches that kind of like rotated through. It started with Joe Hoff. He's no longer involved in the program, but he launched it off, got us going my freshman year. So that was a great start. And then I was also coached by another Joe, my Uncle Roy, and you know, just a rotating door of people who wanted to come in and kind of grow the sport. And I also played like my Herriman team didn't have a sevens program, so I played 15s with Herriman, and then I went on to play sevens with Vipers, who's now a women's program, and Utah Lions, who's an academy.
Yeah, well, I got to go to Salt Lake City for the first time just over a month ago, and I like to go somewhere different. And it was a cool, unique spot. And the rugby community is thriving, and there's so many amazing coffee shops, Dallen, if you wouldn't believe it. But I think I tried all of them. Yeah. So Spiff, obviously, like a big part of your journey is your support system, your amazing husband Keegan. Like you will not. I was actually not sitting too far from him in Paris, and I was just watching him like trying to stay in his seat the whole weekend. And then of course your dog at home, that is, that's your main support system that you share with me over the years. And how important have they been through the journey getting to Paris and surviving the whole process?
I mean, I really truly could not have done it without them. It's so weird because this sport is so, team involved. So the bonding that you go through with the girls that are on the field next to you is incredible. But to be able to step away from that environment every single day and be able to come home to like the love and support that I get from my husband and my dog, especially, it's just really kind of like what I needed to be able to disconnect and not to burn out, because, it's been a long buildup. It is a full-time training environment. We do train 4 days a week, sometimes 5. We travel, year round. So it can be a lot sometimes. So to be able to disconnect and kind of like have my own life outside of the rugby life it's really important for me.
And what's your dog's name?
Her name is Zeppelin.
Zeppelin. So Spiff, my wife was a high-level ice hockey goalie, and she had me, so I was super fan. Like Keegan for a long time, but don't ever date a goalie is what I'm going to tell the listeners. It's the most stressful job, ice hockey goalie. I even feel bad for the other teams when the other girl got scored on. I'm like, oh, her poor partner back home is probably crying. But yeah, even my wife, she's a registered nurse now, and she gets home from a 12-hour night shift at 7 in the morning, and I might have coffee ready for her, but when my golden retriever greets her at the door of the wagging tail, it's literally like the best medicine. So having to dog through that must be such a good distraction, and a lot of love and support as well. So yeah, well, shout out to Keegan and your pup for getting you there.
Yeah. And it's like when I was in Paris, Zeppelin was staying at my mother-in-law's house, and just every few days I'd just be like, hey, can you send a picture of her? Like, I haven't seen her. Yeah, I'm definitely a helicopter dog mom. I imagine it's only going to get worse when I have kids.
Oh, Spiff. And then listen, I want to switch across. We always ask our guests, how did they find rugby for the very first time? I know you said Herriman, but who actually got you to practice, and how did that flow?
My friends, so I played volleyball, and one of my volleyball teammates' sisters was on the rugby team. And at the time they had only had like 11 girls, and they're like, can you just get a couple of your volleyball teammates to come to practice so that the principal can sign off that this can be a club or whatever? And I was like, okay, sure. And the agreement was like, oh, I'll just go to practice, pretend I'm playing, and then they'll get their club to get going, and that'll be great. And I went to practice, and I got completely rocked. I got flattened, put on my back. I don't know why. You know what? I don't know why they would have a girl her very first day just walk into a contact practice, like no warm up at all. But I got wrecked, and it hurt really bad. And I was like, this is a stupid sport. Why would I do something that I like literally, it would hurt so bad. Obviously I've learned since then, but I kept going back because my friends were all like, oh, like we might actually want to try it for this season. And I was like, okay. So I just did it because my friends did it. And then I just kept doing it because people just kept telling me to.
That's so impressive, though, that you took a shot, and then you're like, you know what, I'll go back because my friends are going. So, I mean, I love these stories because, growing up, in the US, as you said, you're not always exposed to rugby, and only later in life at college, or, you got earlier for yourself. Amazing. So how did your rugby journey then continue? Because you went to a powerhouse school, Life University. How did that happen?
Yeah, so throughout high school, I did some camps. I did a U23s 15s camp, was my first national team camp. It was a really good experience, and I learned a lot. I got to go with one of my hometown teammates, Ashley Burge, who went on to play as a capped eagle as well. So that was like kind of my initial introduction into the pathways. From there, I did like U18s, I did some Atavist stuff, junior All-Americans, and then the day before my high school graduation, I wasn't planning on going to college. I was like, I hate school, it's not for me. Richie Walker was actually coming out to do like high performance camps with my academy. My academy had really good relationships with Atavist, which had Emily Bidwell at the time, and Les Spellman, who's a speed coach. And they would come out and they would coach clinics for us. And they would come out every like month or so for like a week and just to, basically teach us everything that they would want to see at the next level. And so I was there at that practice the day before graduation, and Richie was like, where are you going to college? And I was like, oh, I'm not going to college. And he was like, yes, you are. And he told me to pick a school. He's like, any school you want to go to, I will talk to the coach, we'll get you a scholarship, and you will play because you're not ready basically to come out and live in California and be a full-time resident. So I knew that if I wanted any shot at playing for the national team, I would have to go to college, which I joke all the time is like, people are like, oh, what did you go to school for? Like obviously asking about my degree. And I'm like, oh, for rugby. And I had picked Central Washington, and I had really wanted to be coached by Mel Denham. I had experience with her in the pathways, amazing coach. One of my good friends, Sui Ao, went to that school or had committed to that school. So I was really wanting to play with some of the girls that I had played with in the pathways. Mel ended up switching schools. She got her job that she had wanted at Harvard. So I kind of backed out of that situation. And I went into the fall after my, high school graduation, like not planning on going to school at all. I was like, well, maybe I'll get invited to more camps and we'll just see how it goes. And then on Thanksgiving, Coach Raza called me and she was like, I need a fly half. Can you be here this winter semester? And I was like, who are you? What school is this? Like, I had never heard of Life before because I didn't follow college rugby, which, at the time they were back-to-back CRCs and national defending champions in sevens. So if I had, I would have seen that this was the best school in the country to go to for rugby. So I ended up like just taking a leap of faith, and I was like, sure. Like it's so weird to me because I didn't really think about the decision. It was just kind of like Richie was like, yes, do that. And Emily was also like, yeah, go to college. Like it'll be fun. So I got a scholarship to Life University. I flew in before I'd even been accepted to the school. I went into the office and I was like, hey, can I go here, please? Like, I'm trying to play rugby. And, you know, I got accepted. I ended up doing 3 seasons with Life before, unfortunately, the pandemic, and then had to go home. But yeah, my time at Life was amazing.
Yeah, that's remarkable how you ended up going there, because it's not everybody's path, right, to go to university and stuff like that. I love that rugby was that vehicle to get you there. So did you study a bit while you were there as well?
Yeah, there's some school along with.
Yeah.
I would laugh about it because I'm like, this feels like rugby camp that I have to go to classes occasionally for.
Yes.
But yeah, I got my bachelor's in biopsychology.
Wow, brilliant.
Yeah, probably the hardest one I could have picked.
Exactly.
Like everyone else would start out with like a science major, like exercise science or kinesiology or something, and then everyone would like always switch to business or communications. And I was just so busy with rugby and working full time and like being a full-time student that I like never got around. It was probably actually just laziness that I never got around to like going to the counselor's office and being like, I want to switch my major because this is really hard and I'm like drowning out here.
That's the toughest thing, you know. With our full-time academy, we're trying to set these kids up at a younger age. Like half of them have moved away from home. So, you know, and then you're moving away from home. Everything's different city. You're cooking for yourself for the first time once you get out of res, right?
Yeah.
You basically have to addle, but you have to addle all things at once, right? And that's, you know, and then plus be a varsity athlete, so very challenging. I also went to university to play rugby, like most athletes, but that's not a terrible thing. If sports pushes us to do better, then that's great. I'm just going to back it up to the pandemic, Spiff, where I had the opportunity to work with you and other amazing American women and obviously teammates and friends of yours. And Dallen was there commentating, of course. But, you know, looking back on my rugby life, I think my life started when rugby started. But, you know, obviously we've all been on a lot of tours. That Memphis trip was likely that'll be, you know, that's a whole like 10-page podcast on its own, I think. And you know, we're all just so hungry to get after it. And I got to work with Kelly Griffin, the legend. And then you know, being in the heart of America was super cool. Memphis has its own vibe, but you know, getting to know, you know, build a relationship quickly with you, Spiff. Again, the Northern Loonies, you know, nothing more. No other team would be better named for me, because I'm just like, who's this? You're probably like, who's this crazy Canadian? I have no idea. And then Griff is just like chill, right? Just so chill. So we balance each other out. But the moment that stuck out for me from a coach is, you know, before the final game versus the headliners, you know, of course, Alev had forgot to eat because she was too busy running around the stadium in 100-degree weather. So, you know, I think I broke a Perry Baker record and found her banana and came back. And then I'm just always just looking at body language. And I saw you as one of the young players, and you're just about to break through, obviously, for the U.S. and stuff. And I, you know, Nana Favesi, she's one of my favorite humans ever. And if I could pick any team, I would just have her in it, just to basically tell me how to coach and look after everybody. But I knew you needed something before that game, and you girls had to play everybody had to play 4 games in one day after not playing any games for a long time, and pandemic and everything else happening with masks. But I pulled Nana and I said, can you check in on Spiff? And she said, I got her, coach, I got her. And then what I really liked about you, Spiff, in that moment, though, as I'm like, this girl's a champion. Like, this girl wants it so bad. She's putting this pressure on herself, or, you know, whatever emotions you're feeling. And that's one thing nowadays. Like, I find it's tougher to find athletes that want it that bad. And by want it, like, want to be there, want to be present with the team. And then fast forward, you know, seeing you score in Paris. You know, when you got that ball, I was right in line with you, and you were running down the field. And all I could think about was that moment that, you know, 3-4 years before, you know, like the you know, the star that's exploding, and then now like this one of the best players in the world taking her moment, and also just like, there you are in the biggest moment in North American rugby history, impactfully, you girls coming home with the medal, and you look like you could probably run another 10K. So for me, just going back, I guess, that's just my coaching and fan perspective. But how have players like Nana Favesi and all those legends before you that have impacted your life, that were part of this Olympic cycle, that weren't with you, and some of the ones like Alev and others that were with you, how have they impacted you, and how have they set you up for success?
Yeah, I think my relationship with Nana is really special to me because she was the first player at the level that I wanted to play at that I felt had a similar demeanor to me around my attitude around winning and losing. When, like in the past, when I've been on teams that lose, it's like a lot of the teammates are kind of like, oh, that's okay, like we tried our best, or like we're not gonna win, everyone. Whereas like, oh, I'm a sore loser. I take it very difficultly, and it's like, it's not something that, I want to do. It's just kind of how it is. And Nana immediately like matches that energy with me. And it's not that like the teammates are like okay with losing. It's that their turnaround is so much faster from like literally, like to me, it's like mourning a loss is like, even if it's in pool play, I'm like, oh my God, this like, oh, and it's something I've had to work on a lot with our sports psych, and like Emily's been through it all with me, like since I was in high school. So she knows like every time, you're not going to win every game. So every time we do lose a game, it's like really like it takes so much emotional toll on me that I'm like, oh my God, I cannot continue this way. But Nana is like someone who I felt like in a safe space to be able to express those emotions. Because in the past, I feel like, oh my God, you're being such a downer. You're being like, you're bringing the mood down, and you're being like so negative and complaining. Whereas like, I know, it's not going to be a perfect game for anybody, but she was the first person that I felt like I can connect in that way too. And I don't know if you remember, we did drop a game, I think, in pool play for the Loonies that first year. And, that tournament was really hard, and PR Sevens as a league has learned a lot from making us play 4 games in one day with like super quick turnarounds. But yeah, that was a difficult time for me because I had already at that time been offered a residency contract to join the U.S. national team that fall. So I knew Em was going to be watching. I already felt the pressure of like, okay, this is actually, this has no relation to USA Rugby, but this is actually my first showing of like what this preseason is going to be, and potentially my first cap in Dubai. So I just put so much pressure on myself, and like I really wasn't there to have fun, which I wish I did have more fun. I was taking it very seriously as like a work trip, performance-based kind of event, and we were able to win, which was awesome. I don't even think my performance was like terrible or amazing. It was just kind of like mid, which not the worst thing that could have happened, but yeah, Nana is just someone who I feel it comes with so much authenticity, and she just is able to connect with me so well.
But Spiff, you're so right about the roller coaster ride, right? That is Sevens rugby, because it's one thing for a fan, right? You're watching, supporting your country, and it's like, oh man, we lost, but we're going to go through. And then, it's like that. But as a player, you're obviously so invested. It's everything on the line. It is hard. I remember when I was playing with the USA long ago, we weren't even a core team, the men's team on the series before that happened, but we had a sports psychologist actually come work with us as well. And really, it was about flushing those moments, right? Where either you made a mistake, or we had a few moments where we had a lot of close games, we'd lose in the final play, and that was heart-wrenching. And so how do you get over that and don't think about that in the next games? It was a big to-do, but it obviously helped, as you get more practice in those moments. But it is really cool to see the fun that you're having and your team and things like that too, because again, these are the highest stakes ever. We never played in the Olympics. Robin was around before the cell phone was invented when he was playing rugby, right? So it is a long time ago. So it's really awesome to see what you guys are doing. Now, listen, I've got to come back to Robin here. So you played for 2 seasons with the Loonies, fantastic championship wins and everything else. But then, Robin, you traded Spiff to the Rocky Mountain Experts. You must have got a lot of money for that. What's the story?
Yeah, well, Spiff, you tell the story, because I don't want to be.
Okay, so
I wanted Oliver. I couldn't have Oliver.
Yeah, so I think at the time, like when they were trying to sign players and all, it was like, we don't even know how many stops there's going to be for PR Sevens. I think there's going to be 3. And Emily Bidwell had said, like, we really want everyone to play as much as they can because, you know, in the US, there's not many opportunities to play other than on the series. And even those stops are like, you know, 6 weeks apart, super high stage. You don't get that many reps at like, you know, what you're trying to practice. So any opportunity that we could play, she wanted us to. Whereas I was sitting in the position of like, oh my God, like we had just come off of a season and I was like, I don't want to burn out. I'm so afraid of burnout because I come from gymnastics where it's like you burn out so fast. Like, why do you think all the gymnasts back then were like 16? Is because they had to do that for like their entire lives. And then that was like the pinnacle of sport. And then they were done after the Olympics. You know, obviously Simone Biles has broken that stereotype. Jordan Chiles, Cindy Lee, they're all return Olympians. But I was really, really scared of burnout, especially because at that time, I was still working through a lot of psychologist stuff of like enjoying the process because to me, like every single day, it did not matter if we won like a series stop or like if we topped our pool or if we made it through quarterfinals. I was only focused on the Olympics. And obviously that journey was so far away, but I like, that's the only thing I could think about all the time. I'd wake up every day and be like, oh my God, the Olympics. Like, oh, it's literally like fall of 2022. And I'm like, in 2 years, like, so that was a lot of stuff that I had to work through. But basically, I told Robin there are 3 stops. Physically, mentally, emotionally, I can only do 2. Like, I cannot go further than that for safety of like my own mental health, a fear of burning out, fear of injury, even because I don't know if you remember the season before that, PR Sevens, there was some major injuries. One of my teammates, Steph Ravetti, she ended up being out for almost a year due to a leg injury. And you know, it's no one's fault, but there was concerns about the league having us play so soon, like back to back games in that heat, in those conditions on that field. So there was just kind of like multiple factors that were leading into it. So when Robin had reached out to me, he's like, there's 3 stops. And I was like, yeah, I can only do 2. And, you know, to his credit as a coach, like I understand wanting a player that's all in, and all in means 3. So I was like, okay, yeah, if you can't bring me on because of that, like that's totally fine. Then Robin switched up his entire team due to like the 15s thing. But those girls had a lot of great opportunities to play 15s for Canada, who's an amazing squad. They've done so great. Just beating, correct me if I'm wrong, just beating New Zealand.
Yeah.
So like, obviously they have an amazing 15s program and stuff. But yeah, my time with the Loonies couldn't continue due to, you know, my own choices of only doing 2 stops.
Yeah, and I really respected that and showed maturity. And you know, you have to advocate for yourself. And you know, it's you know, again, like I just mentioned you ran a 90 meter try in the Olympic bronze medal final on cruise control once you broke free, and that all pays off the year before. Do you know what I mean? Those decisions led you to that moment, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I let her go. And then, you know, the Roz and Irene are like, well, this is like a professional league. Like, do you want to trade for him? Like, no, I'm good. Like, you look after her and it's all good. And I'll pull another Canadian out of the woodwork. But the funny thing with Alev is she didn't want to play at all because she's obviously going 24/7 and this is her 3rd cycle and all the rest of it. And she wanted to have a summer. So she was driving across the US up to Alaska in like a motorhome or something. And I would literally call her every day, like, where are you? Like, we'll book your flight. So Alette was flying in like the day of the game, and I'm just handing her food, coffee, and blankets, like whatever she needs. And we have a lot of trust and a strong relationship. So I knew what I was getting, and I knew how to handle her as far as like support her. But yeah, no, I mean, I you know, of course, you know, really enjoyed my 2 years with you, and as all my athletes, when they outgrow me, I just become a fan. And then your comment about the winning thing, Spiff, you know, I always try and ask myself as a coach, you know, if I'm coaching a professional team or international team or a team I properly prepared for a while, yeah, we're there to win. If I'm coaching kids and it doesn't matter and whatever, then we're not there to win. It's development. But, you know, in this day and age, things are super soft in the world, and the world is not soft. And so, you know, at the level you're at, you show me a good loser and I'll show you a good loser. And, you know, you know, we all have different personalities in the team, but, you know, you're a champion, you're built to win, and you drive the standard. And I love that. And now when you get to this stage, you're able to control those emotions. And and do what you've done. So that's the best part. But Dallen, thank you for throwing me under the bus. Okay,
Pleasure.
let's talk about the good stuff, the best stuff, the try. All right, we have the Olympic bronze medal hero, for me, the real hero, and we got the world's best commentator. So, Spiff, we prepared something special for you. Dallen's just going to commentate the try and let you take it in as a fan. So, give it to us, Dallen.
Okay, well, firstly, I want to preface this saying Robin was like, I was looking at the try again, obviously, for the thousandth time today, and he's like, I can't see it. I can't see the try. I go, what do you mean you can't see the try? And he's like, well, I was like, maybe because you're in Canada, our US networks block so you can't see it on your page. So I was like, that makes sense. So I commentated the try for him just so he could just refresh his exact moment to moment. And then he's like, listen, just do that again. I'm like, okay, so here we go, Spiff.
Okay.
So this is-
Hold on. I just got to say, NBC, if you're listening, Canadians over the fence, please give us your TV and internet. Okay,
That's right.
Go.
Give us your TV and your internet, exactly. For free, please. All right, so here we go. This is what okay, so we got a nice ruck there. Ramsey feeds it off. There's 3 Australian tacklers on Spiff Sedrick. Keep the change, more dangerous than climate change. Sedrick's away. Over the halfway line, runners are coming, but no one is going to catch the sleek sensation. Final moment of the game. Everybody's going absolutely mental. The dive, the try. Sammy Sullivan's going berserk on the side. Alef Kelter's crying. Tapper runs in. Australia's crying on the side here. It is pandemonium. Tim Walsh looks on. He can't believe it. The USA have won it. Now, this is where Sammy Sullivan's like, hold on. There's a kick to come. Somebody's got to take the kick. Walsh looks again. He's so upset. The camera then pans to you guys. You're looking around. You're gassed from an unbelievable run. But then somehow you've got the ball in your hands. You've got, I think it's your physio there next to you. Boom from in front. After running 95 meters to 100, you kick it. Ilona Maher's there. It's pandemonium. The world erupts. The greatest moment in US rugby sport. Bang.
Wow. You are a professional. Yeah. That was awesome.
All right. Wow.
Yeah. Well, listen, let's first, I know Robin's going to get into it. And Robin was there live, obviously watching it, which must have been unbelievable. Robin, I'll get your input in a second. But Spiff, you know it's the final play of the game. So as a team and a psychology, you've prepared for this for a long time. Just talk us through it.
Okay, pause. You would think that I'm a professional. I didn't know it was the last play of the game because I was not looking at So I knew, well, last time I had looked at the clock, it was like 3:20 or so. And I didn't look again. Terrible game management from myself. But probably for the best because I didn't think about it. But yeah, I didn't know it was the last play. We did know they were going to kick deep because they were up and it was, winding down to the end of the second half. So that was no surprise. I was like, okay, yeah, they're going to kick deep. That's a good strategy for them. It's a strategy that worked in the semifinal for New Zealand against us. We were pinned in our own half damn near the entire second half, and we weren't able to get out. We made too many mistakes and too many key moments to be able to get out of that. So good tactic from them, I would say. I don't know if you remember in Toulouse in 2022 when Naya semifinal. Yeah. Australia sometimes will give us a defense where they will be very tight to the ruck and then they'll kind of slide out. It's kind of a big contrast to New Zealand and France flying up on an outside shoulder defense. So we kind of knew what we were going to get, similar to that Toulouse game, which we had also won, by the way. And so I was calling for it on the edge with Naya. I was like, we know, they're going to be tight. They're going to slide out. Maddie Levi, obviously an excellent defender right in front of Naya. So I was like, maybe we can try to get a 2-on-1. I saw Sharni in front of me and I was like, maybe I can get outside of her. I know they're going to be bringing, good line speed. So I got the ball a little wider than I thought I was going to. And it kind of pulled me out a little, which I think made her come down a little further than she would have on defense. And when I slipped out of that, I was like, okay, that was really lucky because that shouldn't have happened. And then in front of me, I just saw 2 defenders. And at that moment, I was like, okay, I'm going to get tackled. Just don't get turned over. Because we know Australia is a very good recycling team. So I was like, don't get turned over. Please put the ball back. Like, clean presentation on the ground. Don't get a penalty. Whatever you do, just keep the ball. And I felt the Australian player grab me up high, and to me immediately that's a oh shit moment where oh damn it moment where I'm like I don't want to ran my head into the ground. Because in 2019, I had actually broken my sternum and a rib from a high tackle where I was grabbed like at the collar, and I was like, the girl laid down and flipped me over her shoulder, and I ended up like crunching down on my head and breaking my sternum. I was out for 6 months. That was like a really big injury for me. So anytime someone grabs me up high, I just kind of instinctively like lift my chest up as high as I can. Like, oh, please don't, slam the ground with my forehead. So, I mean, she slipped off and I just kept running, and I was like, oh, wow, look at that. But immediately I know Australia's all going to be chasing back Maddie Levi, one of the best defenders of cover tackles in the game. Not only cover tackles, but cover tackles, recycle, score on the other end. So I knew that they were coming. I just was hoping that my legs and my lungs would take me across the line.
And I'll add, it was stinking hot in that stadium. Like, it was just sitting in the stands funneling water because there was no beer and wine in there. And I was sweating to death. And so I can only imagine your last game, the last play of the game, how gassed you were. But you look sweet. You live in California, San Diego. You spent a lot of time in Utah. This is just another day. But for us Canadians, we would have been dying. But so, again, going back, like, all I could think about was, nobody deserves this more. And you just look like you were made for that moment. And I was just so happy for you as an athlete, happy for your family, and happy for all those U.S. girls, and happy for your athletic therapist, Nicole Titmus, as has kept you guys all together for all these years. And obviously for Bidewell and Zach and all that. But for me, talk me through the kick, because you got the job done. You don't always kick. You've got some kickers in your team. And I was like, okay, Spiff's kicking. She's got this. She's got this. What was going through your head, or were you just going through your process?
So similar to me not knowing that it was the last play of the game, I also thought we won when I scored, because in my head, I was like, okay, well, there's a couple things. In my head, I was like, if we score, we will go into overtime. If we make the kick, we'll win. I knew that when the kickoff was happening. But after I scored, I was just like, nice, clock out, I'm done. This is the best. Like, great, we won, finished. And I had scored, I rolled over, Naya lifts me up, and I'm just staring at the clock. That's like that, when you can see me literally just standing there, like, completely gassed. And I'm staring at the clock, and it says 000, and I'm like, all right, great, we're done. And then Kershey and Lowe are like pointing at something, and they're like all yelling. And I'm like looking at the big screen on the other side of the field, and I'm like, nice. And then I turn around and I see the clock says like 9 seconds. And I was like, oh shit, that's me. And Zach was like, you have to kick it. And I was like, oh my God, give me the ball. And then I caught the ball, I think, with like I think there was actually like 4 seconds left when I caught the ball. And I was like, oh, I hope this goes in, because I don't kick. So early on in my career, like with him, she was like, you need to be a kicker, you need to learn that skill. And I was like, okay, great. I had a couple privates with some of the like kicking coaches. It went terribly. It made me want to quit. I was like, I hate kicking so bad. This is like the worst skill. I don't want to do this ever. So she was like, okay, just focus on other things. Like, it's okay. We have a good amount of kickers. Alev, one of the best kickers on the series. Elena, so solid on kickoffs, and Kayla, so solid on conversions. So she was like, that's not really something we need you to work on. And I was like, great, nice, don't need to. But before the game, she had come up to me, and her and Zach had made the decision to start all 3 of our kickers, which they never do for that reason. Usually if they do that, they will sub Alev back on. But they were out of subs, and Zach had come up to me before the game, and he said the way that the subs might roll out is you might have to take the conversion kick. He said you might have to take a kick, and we assumed it's going to be a kickoff. And I was like, okay, wild, but whatever. So I go into warm up, and he's like, just take a couple swings. And so the first time you take a strike, it's not on the field. And I was like, okay. So I take 2 restart kicks, not even conversion kicks. And I shank them both, just like piss missile to the back of the try zone, like awful. And he just like, I turn over to look at him, and he literally is like this, like looks away, like, oh, I didn't see it. Don't worry. And I was like, nah, whatever. Like, I'm not going to have to kick anyway. And then in that moment when I rolled over, I was like, okay, we're done. And then in that moment when they're all yelling, like, you need to kick it. And the ref says, like, I hear the ref, he's like, we still have time. And I look up, there's 4 seconds left. And I didn't think of anything at all. I was just like, just push it over with your foot. And it went in. By God, it went in. I don't know. It was pretty crazy.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Because I know I've seen kickers timeout because you said at the time they, just forget about the moment. And also, that's great insight because none of us knew that you weren't quite aware that that kick obviously was the kick you needed because nobody wants to go play extra time because you never know what's going to happen. And so you've done all the hard work. Wow. And that's why Sammy Sullivan on camera is like doing this.
Well,
like, yeah.
I have to say, like, so you can see they pan to the bench as soon as I score. And my whole team is like, oh my God, we don't have a kicker. Like, she has to make the kick. And you can actually hear Kayla say that. She's like, she still has to make the kick. She's like crying. And Alev is like freaking out. And then they pan to Australia's bench and they're all sobbing. Like, they already assume I'm going to make it. Yeah. But my team is like, oh my God, I hope she makes it. So it's just I think people don't realize like that little piece behind it. But Sammy telling everyone to shut up is highlight of the Olympic.
Yeah, totally. And also I will say in other teams, what they've done is when somebody has made a 90-meter break, even if they are the kicker, sometimes what they do is send another kicker if you have it on the team because the person's legs are tired. They've just, expelled that energy depending how far the kick is. So, but let's talk about that. Okay, so what was it like playing in front of, let's call it 70,000 because Robin was probably counting for about 1,000. That's how loud he was. Setting records for women's rugby at the Olympics. That must have been remarkable.
Yeah, I think our team is a team that thrives under that kind of pressure and that amount of support. We've played in stadiums that are empty, unfortunately. My very first cap was in an empty stadium in Dubai in 21. Fans were not allowed the first weekend. And so my very first cap was with no one in the stands. And that's a really weird feeling. It's like very similar to like practice when no one's really watching. But my team is definitely a team that thrives off of that energy and just the environment that the fans bring. One of the best environments that we played in is Hong Kong. And this last year we made it to the gold medal match. Unfortunately dropped it to New Zealand. But yeah, to have that many fans in Paris and to know that so many of them or so much of our family could make it into the stands was really, really special, especially for the girls that went to Tokyo and weren't able to have anyone due to the pandemic.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say, that beautiful footage of you running to your husband straight afterwards, I mean, and they captured that. I mean, that just unbelievable.
Yeah, that was I've been watching videos about the Olympics since I was probably like 6 or 7. And anytime you're like, oh, Olympic compilation video, it's like always the super emotional music and then the athlete jumping up into the crowd and like hugging their family. So I was like, oh my God, that feeling is probably so amazing. Like I would literally sit and watch these videos and start crying because I wanted it so bad. And so I didn't even realize that when I was doing that, like that someone was recording and then B is like, that's my exact moment that I had dreamed about for so long. And then I'll see other people do it as well. I don't know if you know Hunter and Tara Wardall with like track and Paralympic track. They also had one of those moments, and that's just like, oh my God, I can't not cry when I see those because I'm like, that's just everything that I had wanted for so long.
So beautiful.
Yeah, so nice that he was able to be there with you in that moment because he's been there with you every moment, whether he's there or not there. So, Dallen, I mean, you were obviously commentating at the 15s Men's World Cup. I was there for the semifinal and final in the Stade de France. And I've also was there over 20 years ago when I was playing professionally in France, Spiff. I was a young Canadian, and I went to my first international game there, and that's when I decided I wanted to play for Canada. I wanted to play in the international stage in one of those stadiums. So I watched an All Blacks France game, like Lamu, like all the legends play. I watched the World Cup final, Springboks versus the All Blacks last October, so less than a year apart. And I didn't go to the men's Olympics. I went to the women's Olympics as a fan, as a super fan, because there's 16 women that were playing from 6 different countries that have had the privilege and opportunity to coach. And I didn't know so the men played, I think, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, the men's sevens. So they had like the best nights, I would say, as far as fans. The men typically draw more people because it's been around longer. So I was like, I was kind of looking forward to a chiller stadium because I was just been so exhausted from being an old coach that always travels. But I was hoping there'd be good support. Like I support the women's more than I do the men, of course. But Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is when you played, and it was louder in the first pool games for the women's games, Brazil versus Japan or whatever it was, than it was at the World Cup final.
Oh wow!
At the Stade de France. Like I couldn't hear myself think, right? And then, like Canada played France the last game of the day or whatever, one of the last games of the day, day 2 to, for the semifinal or whatever it was, and broke their hearts. But yeah, so I was telling people back home, like it was louder there on a Sunday and Monday night than it was at the World Cup 15s final. That's how, for the women. It was insane. And I just basically sat in the stands for 3 days, sweated to death, had a fever, and just cried. I was just so proud of everybody. I'm not loyal to any country. I just loyal to players and the game. And yeah, it was so beautiful. But let's enough about rugby. Let's talk about the athletes' village. Like it was all happening. Snoop Dogg, the only person cooler than Dallen, the only better personality out there is Snoop Dogg. But tell me, like, did you get to mix in with him? What were some other celebrities that were there that you guys got to get amongst it with? And then, the other question is, what other athletes? Like, you see the wrestlers, and then like what different kinds of shapes and sizes and sports were unique and cool for you to mix in with at the Athletes Village in Paris?
Yeah, so at the Village, I didn't really speak to anybody. I feel like a inability to interrupt people and be like, please, can I get a picture of you? Because I just feel like it's so, I don't know, like I'm sure they get it all the time. So I personally cannot do that. Like I physically cannot stop somebody and be like, please, I have to get a picture of you. It just feels like, oh, it's like scary to me. And also I'm like, oh my God, I'm just wasting their time. So I did see like a lot of incredible athletes. I saw Katie Ledecky, who absolutely smashed it. We did see the U.S. gymnastics team, incredible. We saw the men's gymnastics team as well. I saw Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price. I saw, who else? There's a tennis player, Rafidal. I don't know. I don't really follow tennis, but everyone was saying he's a really big tennis player. I was like, okay, great. I ended up seeing the basketball teams as well. I saw LeBron James, Devin Booker. No, I'm so sorry. I'm not a huge basketball fan, but we saw all these athletes and it was really incredible. But I was most excited to see Snoop Dogg, and we were all talking about it in the bus ride to the Village. We were like, okay, if there's an athlete who's the one person you have to stop and talk to, and for me, I was like, no one, absolutely no one. I can't do that. And all my other teammates were like, oh, if I see like Katie Ledecky, or if I see like some swimmer from another country, whatever. And I was like, nobody, I can't do that. And they're like, well, you have to pick someone. And I was like, fine, Snoop Dogg, I guess. And then we pull up to the HPC, the High Performance Center for the US only. And we walk into the dining hall, and the first person I see is Snoop Dogg. And everyone was like, Spiff, you said you have to. And I was like, oh no, like I really did not want to, but I was like, kind of just holding my tray of food because he's in the dining hall. He wasn't eating or anything, and he was taking pictures with people. And I went to sit down and I make an eye contact with him, and he was like, hey, and I was like, okay, like I felt like I was it was easier for me to approach him rather than if he had been like, oh my God, don't look at me. But I was like, hi, my name's Spiff, like we're with the US Women's Rugby team, we want to invite you to the games. And he's like, yeah, I'm in there. I'm like, you say that, but I don't know if you're actually gonna go. But he was like, do you want to take a picture? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, are you gonna be fast? Are you gonna be physical? Are you gonna like run hard? And I actually have a video of him, like that little part of the conversation while we're like taking a picture. And I was like, shit, I hope so. Like just really wild that full circle it comes back. And I did run decently fast, and it worked out. But
it's so great. It's so great that you actually did get the photo and you filmed it as well. Because I know what you're saying. You don't want to bother other people. But again, at those games, so many people do. If somebody comes to you, it's not dissimilar, right? Somebody, when I see you next time, I say, can I get a photo? Knowing that, like, that's cool. It's a cool moment for, us in the rugby or sports community. But that's pretty cool. He's like, what are you going to be? You're like, I'm going to be fast. I'm not going to know the score, but I'm going to kick the kick, and we're probably going to win it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's talk knocking onto that, like the social media explosion, obviously your team has been so followed and viewed around the world. Of course, the Queen, Ilona Maher, dominated. What is it like being in her team, first of all? And who films all her content, particularly when it's just your teammates around? Do you have to double up as a camera person as well, or what's going on there?
Yeah, we shoot a decent amount of content. Like sometimes she'll just put out a message in the group chat and she'll be like, hey, I don't know if you guys have seen this trend. I'm doing this video where you say your favorite whatever. So just think about it. And if you want to be in the video, like I'm filming it the other day. Or she'll just walk up to us and she'll be like, hey, and just hit record and just see what comes out of it. But yeah, the Olympics is big for content creators because it is like the time that we have the most eyes on us, especially as Americans. Americans love the Olympics. We don't really care about the World Cup. We don't really care about anything else, but the Olympics, that's the one that people really double down on and become very patriotic over that event. So yeah, it's just like, obviously we have so much eyes on her. She has damn near 4 million followers. Insane. I don't know if you've been following, like Sammy Sullivan has even blown up with her Lego community, and Ari Ramsey was talking about like healthcare on from the village. So yeah, we just had a lot of different eyes on us and different audiences tuning in.
I was gonna say, could you tell us about the Lego community? I don't know anything about this Lego community. I was in it when I was like 3 to 6, but then I've been out since.
So Sammy uses that as her way to like disconnect from rugby. That's her thing, is like building Legos. And she just posted about it. And apparently, I had no idea either, there's like a huge Lego community that's like, this is what we do, like full-time. People have their own shops and whatever. So that's her thing.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to add, because my little nephew is into Lego, but a young kid. But I want to talk about then Dancing with the Stars, okay? Because obviously Ilona's going to be on there. Does she have a lot of good dance moves? I just want to get a sense. Is she going to win the whole thing?
Well, I absolutely believe that she will win. As far as her dance moves before her training, I would say they're fun, they're cutesy, they're demure, but they're not, I wouldn't say like ballroom yet, but I absolutely trust that she's going to be a complete professional, take her training very seriously. Like she doesn't half-ass anything. So I know that once she gets the proper training, she has a good partner, Alan. They're going to kill it. Like there's no other option than for her to do super well.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the best thing about all you US women you guys are dominating, and it's a gift for me as a coach in North America, because all these young girls are just so keen now, like so keen. And you play with Carissa Norston, of course, with the Loonies, and Carissa's about as quiet as you as far as like looking for attention or any of that. But I was doing skills with her university yesterday, and she was getting interviewed during this. The week before, she was training with me. Well, when she walked across the road from the university to the field, it's the first time I've seen her smile like that since she was like 15 or 16 training with me. And because she was so excited just to do some skills and be relaxed with me. And then she had to walk across the road yesterday, but she was getting interviewed on field for like a couple hours by the university. And she was just like looking at me, like shaking her head. But yeah, no, like the US girls though, like the amount of attention you guys are getting and the ambassadors that you guys are is so great. And the multiplier effect from your success to inspire. I've got a couple 13-year-old girls that have just joined our academy. They just come a couple days a week because they from a younger school. Mm-hmm. Those girls come in now and they're like, yeah, like 100% they want to be Olympians. Like, I want to be Olympians. Like, they're like naming you, like both the US and the Canadian girls. They don't want to be like the New Zealand. They don't want to be like Australia now. They want to be like the Canadians and the American girls. And they know you guys, like, because there's only 12 women in a team. And so every single one of you, just like when you were a little girl watching that. So that's the best part for the, it's the multiplier effect is I watched this thing when I was a young rugby player, and it was David Campese, Rugby is Life. And when they won the World Cup, was it 91? Dallen?
Yeah, 91 and 99. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was watching it in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was VHS.
Before the cell phone was invented. Remember, I said that. Carry on.
Before the DVD was invented. I'm not that old. We're the same age. But anyway, the captain of the Australia team got interviewed. What was the highlight of your career? What was this or that? He goes, so the best part is when we won the World Cup and we came back to Australia, the participation for young kids like went up 600%.
Oh my God.
And so your guys' impact, you won't be able to measure that for like 5-10 years down the road. But I mean, you're just doing what you love, but you guys have done it in the shadows, because rugby's done it in the shadows, and your impact is huge. So let's talk about some of these events. You guys have been busy little bees since you got back to across the U.S. Where have you been? What have you been doing? And what do you have on your plate upcoming off field?
Yeah, so the first thing that I did when I came back is my husband had actually thrown a surprise party for me, for people who were in Paris and also people who couldn't make it. I had my very first high school coach there, Joe Hoff. I almost didn't even recognize him. He lost a bunch of weight and I hadn't seen him for years. So I was like, I don't know this guy. And he was like, it's Joe. And I was like, oh my God, like this man taught me rugby and like taught me all the rules and whatever. So yeah, that was really cool. His little brother's band performed Honey Waves. They were really cool. They had learned the Olympic song. So when I was like, it was a surprise party. So when I was walking into the backyard, they just start, on the drums with the Olympic theme song. And I was like, this is insane. So that was really nice, just to have a moment of like just my friends. And I guess he had one of our friends who had attended the party, his dad is a newscaster for and some news channel in Utah. I think it's ABC. I'm not sure, but he had asked if they want it to be covered, and Keegan had decided like, no, we've done a lot of media in the last couple of days. Like, we're going to keep this one just close, like just family. So that was really nice. And then a couple of days later, I had run a fundraiser through the MLR team, the Utah Warriors, and we had partnered with Utah Youth Rugby and Utah Littles Rugby, and we put on a fundraiser and people could come and play touch and do a meet and greet, and I could sign autographs and take pictures. And we raised, I think, over $7,000 when our goal was right around like $5,000. And all that money is going to girls programs in Utah. So that's really exciting and really amazing. And we had so many people just come into the like meet and greet line, and they're like, I'd never watched rugby before, but we just put it on because it's the Olympics. And now like we signed our daughter up, and I got to meet this little girl who was wearing a Herriman jersey, like the team that I started playing for. And it was shocking to me that she was like 10 years old and they had a team for that. And I was like, oh my God, like she's wearing my colors. And it was really exciting. So that was great. I threw a pitch for the Salt Lake Bees. It's a feeder team to the Dodgers. Oh my God.
How was that? Yeah. Is it hard? Yeah.
It was terrible. Like I don't even think I threw from the mound, and it was more like a cricket.
Yeah, cricket, yeah.
Well, it's called pitch, but it just bounces off the ground. And like my whole family had to come out, and you just hear everyone like cheering for me, and then I throw it and everyone just goes, oh, okay. But yeah, that was really fun. I came back to San Diego and just doing like interviews, podcasts, Hang on.
When you say podcast, you got to sound excited that you're on the Rugby Hive.
Oh yeah, I do actually like podcasts better than interviews, because I feel like interviews is like a 10-minute like. I feel like as I'm talking, they're not actually listening; they're just thinking about the next thing to ask me. So I like podcast format a little better. But yeah, just this last week, I drove the pace car at a NASCAR race, like the first playoffs of the NASCAR season. So it was my first NASCAR event, and they trusted me to get in a car and drive it. So that was
What was that like? I mean, you're on the course and you went 100 miles an hour. What sort of speed?
Yeah, so I had to do some. They told me you have to come to training, and I was like, oh my God, it's a stick shift. Like, why do I need to train to drive a car that I don't know how to drive? So I made it up in my head that it was a stick shift. It wasn't. Yeah. But yeah, so I got going around the track. I got up to like 100, I think maybe like 105, and that was a lot of fun. And it wasn't as scary as I thought it was. It was actually scary to go slow, because I don't know if you know, but like the banking, like they're driving on like a tilted wall. So if you like stop, you're just like in the car, like, but when you go fast, it doesn't even feel that hard. So like, that was really cool. But for the actual, like my actual duties as like pace car driver, I had to go like exactly 45, because that's the speed limit for pit road where they do their pit stops and stuff. And apparently race cars don't have a speedometer. So they need the pace car to set the pace at exactly 45 miles an hour around the track. So I do a couple laps, and their computers in their car calibrate it to know exactly how fast that is, which I'm like, why don't you just put a speedometer?
Yeah, I know. I was going to say they don't know how fast they're going. Gee, that's weird.
No, yeah. So they only go off of RPMs. So I just have to drive a couple laps. I just put on cruise control and just sit there like just smile and drive the car. So that was a lot of fun. The NASCAR community, insane the amount of fan involvement that they have. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but their fans can basically pay your way into any experience in NASCAR. So like in rugby, there's no way that fans can get into the tunnel. Like it's just not possible. They can't come into the locker room. They cannot come, underground and like go into the athlete dining. With NASCAR, they're just like, yeah, like just come into our garage and watch us work on the cars. Or like they have like little tape that like blocks you off, but you're literally like 3 feet from the car. And it's just all like, it's so immersive, and they let their fans in on so much, which I think might be why they have like really good loyal fans, because they get to see so much of the behind the scenes and they get to really understand the entire process, which is cool to experience.
Yeah, that's fascinating. The access that they get, which is now I will say rugby is a sport that you get access. And when I say access, you sign autographs, you take photos. If somebody says, "Can I talk to your interview?" You say yes. Where a lot of the big American sports, that's not possible. But that's interesting how NASCAR has access. I mean, that could be the future of rugby for sure. Now, listen, I know you were talking about, and I love the story about the little girl wearing the Herriman shirt. So now you're in the limelight in terms of promoting rugby and being a massive ambassador for our sport globally, but particularly here in North America. So my question to you to close us out here is, what would you say to the parents that are thinking about having their young daughter play rugby? They're not sure about the game. What sort of things could you say to them that you've benefited from off and on the field?
So I think a lot of parents are scared to put their kids into rugby because of the like contact possibility. And also it's not a very big sport, so they might not see a lot of opportunity for maybe if they hope that their child will get a scholarship or go on to play professionally. But I would say right now is the time to insert them into that space, just because it is so new and you just got to strike while the iron's hot, because as there are so many other sports that the US compete with for, girls sports, there's gymnastics, dance, basketball, softball, soccer. Those are kind of the big ones that people will kind of steer their kids more towards. Rugby is an incredible sport that can take your kid, onto college to play nationally, to play at the Olympics, at the World Cup. But also if you're not even trying to go to that level and you just want to do it for fun, it's a great team sport. And there's just so many values that you can learn within being a part of a team that has to problem solve in the way that, a rugby team has to. And it can have a lot of crossover skills that I feel like people kind of take for granted. A lot of people in the US kind of do like seasonal training. So while your kid is young, you might put them in every single sport and see what sticks. Why not rugby for one of those sports? There's hand-eye coordination, there's kicking involved, there's field vision, there's teamwork, speed, strength, agility, balance. Like all of those different things can kind of leak out into other sports that you might want to push them more towards if you're not like the biggest fan of rugby. So I would say, just give it a try. And what's the worst that can happen? Either they love it and it's for them and they go on to play at the highest level that they want to, or they don't love it and they just take some of those skills that they learned in those perspectives onto their other sports and they're better for it.
Amazing to hear your thoughts. Amazing to hear, your insights into the game, how to grow the sport, and also for being part of this legendary team that we just witnessed this year. We love having you on the Rugby Hive. Honestly, what a delight. And thank you for being who you are.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sensational. Bloody stuff.
Sorry, I'm such a yapper. Sorry if that went long.
No. You kidding me? I give Robin shit because his questions are like 8-minute questions. You agree. You super,
my questions aren't questions.
Story. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
See you guys later.
Cheers, you legends.
Also never stops talking, does Perenara, but I suppose that's the job of a scrum half.
Set.
He feeds. 5 out from their own line. Satutu picks up, finds Jordan. Skins one. Back to Hoskins Satutu. Here comes Perenara. Back on the inside. Barrett! Oh, not even Wes Craven could have directed that. It's frightening from the All Blacks. And Beauden Barrett gets a popular try in DC.
Thank you for listening, you sleek sensations.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to Rugby Hive Podcast and catch us on all the socials at Rugby Hive.
We appreciate your support. Be safe out there, and we'll see you soon. On the left-hand side, and a dummy,